As a kid, I grew up with Mopars. We had to wrench on the cars back then. We couldn't afford anything, so we had to buy used cars and wrench on them. Always wanted to own a wing car. Never could afford one, and I finally decided to start collecting them.
We've both always loved cars. After we got married, just realized that we both had a passion for it.
To my knowledge, this is the largest wing car collection that we know of out there. A lot of people thought they were the ugliest car in the world, but I just love the appearance of the Superbirds and the Daytonas.
When you say wing car, it was the ultimate expression of Chrysler's development in the superspeedway wars of the late 1960s. But the truth is that it was a do-or-die battle with Ford Motor Company on the NASCAR tracks. That do-or-die battle is the direct result of losing the Daytona 500 in 1969. The boss at Dodge, Bob McCurry, he was pretty upset that the Charger 500 had not worked as it planned, and he pulled all the stops out to make the Charger Daytona happen as soon as he could after that. These cars were not really made to be cars that would be super attractive to the buying public. They were made to win races, period.
In 1969, when the Dodge Daytona came out, the rule at the time was you had to have at least 500 cars in production. So they made 503 Daytonas that we know of. They were very successful on the track. They were not successful in the showroom. They thought they were the ugliest car ever made. A lot of the cars sat there. Rumor has it a lot of the wings were cut off and noses cut off at the cars. The dealerships had to do that to get them out the door.
When the Charger 500 was announced, there was a guy named Richard Petty in North Carolina who really wanted one. And he went to Plymouth and asked, was he going to get a more stylish or more aero-styled car? And they said no. And Petty basically told them what he wanted to come back to be a Plymouth racer, and one thing was the Superbird.
It's just a little bit different body style. The 1969 Daytona was made on the Charger body style, where the 1970 Plymouth Superbird was made off of the Roadrunners.
They weren't afraid to put out those wild, high-impact colors, and I love that.
Superbird and Daytonas are iconic muscle cars. When somebody says wing car, everybody knows what they're talking about. When they come to an auction, you know what you're going to get. You know that there's going to be a lot of people on it. You know there's going to be a lot of excitement behind it. You might see one at an auction, you might see two or three at an auction, but you've never seen this many from one person lined up and run right in a row.
What I love is the rarity of the cars. Very few wing cars are out there compared to the other cars, and so we chase cars that have numbers matching, build sheet cars, something that has an odd option to it and has some history behind it.
We are very particular. Numbers matching if we can get it. Build sheet. It's important that the car have a backstory too, and each one of these cars have a special backstory.
We're bringing 12 wing cars. We have a black Hemi Cuda that will be coming. We have a 1970 four-door Barracuda, which never existed.
It's a real special group of cars. I mean, you just keep on going. There isn't just one that stands out, they all stand out.
Well, he's got a green Hemi Superbird here that's just loaded with options. Beautiful car, and it's got a rim blow steering wheel, which is very rare for any Superbird. And I think that car is actually probably one of the most unique Superbirds I've ever seen.
It's mainly original, outstanding time capsule. We use that as a car that marked a lot of our other cars because we could date code the parts. Everything about that car is original.
Two cars that Mecum people will be familiar with were two cars that came out of the Wellborn collection in 2015. That's the Copper Daytona, which is a survivor-type Hemi car, and then the Omaha Orange special paint code car that Tim Wellborn himself located outside of Atlanta years ago. Both those cars stand out simply on appearance. Regardless of what their optioning would be, they would stand out based on the color combinations and the wheels that are on them.
It's a T5 with a saddle interior, all numbers matching, build sheet car, just a fabulous four-speed Hemi Daytona. The Petty Blue car is a very unique car. They came out with Petty Blue at the last end of December in the production of those cars in 1969. So the color of Petty Blue is quite rare by itself. The wing was signed by Richard Petty when the owner was 43 years old, and that was Richard Petty's number, so it has the 43 still on the wing.
The Y2 car, which is a kind of a light yellow, It's not a real common color on any muscle car, and I think that car is going to draw a lot of attraction because it is a unique color.
One of the cars that'll be going to Kissimmee is going to be a Q5 Daytona. It's a very rare color. This is the only one known to have a white interior. It's a stunning car, beautiful color.
He's got two red cars, but they're not the same either. One car is R4, which is kind of the iconic muscle car color, and one car is a deep wine red R6. The R4 car is pretty well known in the hobby. 21 magazine stories written about it. The R6 car is really unique. It's got an arterial tail panel in it. In the dash is a clock instead of a clock tack, which was almost the same amount of money, but most guys would have put the tack in it. They're cool that way.
Big Willie was a gentleman back in Los Angeles that during the LA riots just took notice of what was happening and tried to get everyone to race cars instead of fight on the streets.
But this was a car that Big Willie had later and had been in storage at his place in Los Angeles for a long time. The way it is now that Gary's got it is the way it needs to look. It's beautifully redone. And again, the provenance is there. This was the car that Big Willie owned, the last of the Big Willie Daytonas.
What you've seen Kathy and Gary put together come to the top of the mountain, and you end up in this building and you walk in and all the neons are themed to the wing car collection. All the cars are lit up perfectly, the color combinations, and you just walk in and it stops you right in your tracks.
We keep them in an environmentally closed barn. We exercise the cars at least once a year. I had these signs custom made to replicate what we had back at the time.
The reason behind them is to pay tribute to the different parts that are on these cars.
In the course of my career, I've seen a lot of car collections. And what I really thought was special about this was, again, the effort to select the cars that were truly special. And Gary and Kathy did a great job in terms of having them in a place where you could actually enjoy them.
These cars took us a long time to collect. There's a lot of man hours put in these cars. The cars that you see, we probably turned down 95% of the other cars. So we have been underneath a lot of Superbirds, a lot of Daytonas, a lot of Cudas, and these are the cars that we chose for our collection.
We're selling because we feel there's a season to sell and a season to buy, and this is the season to sell. So we want to make room for new and bigger and better things, so that's what we're doing.
My wife and I look forward to collecting cars because we are never finished collecting cars.